Hello and welcome to Emory Pre-Health Advising's presentation on the process of sending professional schools update letters. My name is Arpita and my fellow peer mentor Minhee and I will be walking you all through the process and whether you should consider sending an update letter.
So, in order to even consider sending an update letter to your professional schools of choice in the first place, we should learn about what an update letter is, right? Essentially, an update letter is an additional space that can be used to communicate to professional schools of your interest to add more pieces that may provide context of yourself. Now that you know the definition, at this point, some of you may be wondering, what's the difference between an update letter and a letter of intent? Aren't they the same thing? Well, my answer to you is yes and no. Yes, they are both short letters of correspondence addressed either to the Dean of Admissions or the Admissions Committee. However, an update letter focuses on any notable achievements, awards, or any other endeavors that may not happen in your primary or secondary app in the summer. So think of it as an opportunity to add a little more to the application that you had submitted. As the name suggests, you may have additional, quote-unquote, updates that speak to your preparation to your professional school since you had last submitted it. Note, this is not a requirement.
We would like to preface this presentation just by warning everyone of some things to consider before you decide to write an update letter. So first off, there's no official information or position either from the AAMC or from Emory's Pre-Health Advising Office regarding update letters and whether to send them. Some schools may not even accept them, and obviously you should only be updating schools on any new achievements since you applied, but these new updates may or may not be accepted, and at times, depending on the school stance, they may be seen as overeager, especially if you send way too many updates. As Dr. Batisky says, your application and interview is your letter of intent, so an update letter shouldn't always be necessary.
So, with all of this information in mind, let's get to writing. Just like any other forms of letter writing, you need to know to whom you are addressing the letter. So, which schools can you send an update letter to? Focus on the following. 1. Schools that you've already interviewed at. 2. Schools that you've been waitlisted at. 3. Schools you haven't been rejected from. Remember, make sure to check with your schools to see if they do accept update letters, because not all schools accept them.
Before you decide to write an update letter, make sure to check whether schools actually accept them and what format they prefer, as well as what dates they would like to receive information. Remember to be super courteous of their time, since the admissions committee is doing a huge favor in reading additional information from you after spending a couple of months inundated with application materials. You'll also want to make it super personal and address it to the Dean of Admissions or the Admissions Committee rather than saying just generally to whom it may concern. So make sure to do your research in advance. Make it super easy to connect to your file by putting your AMCAS ID and correspondence email at the very top of the page. And as always, proofread. Even if you don't have a long time to be writing these letters, you have to make sure that it has good grammar and makes sense and is easy for the admissions officers to read. Keep it short and sweet. No one wants to be reading pages upon pages of additional information, so try to keep your update letter to just one page. Even if you used any acronyms in your original application for organizations or clubs, make sure to redefine those. Describe skills that you've gained from your new experiences. Don't just use this as a place to expand upon experiences you've already written about, but really emphasize that the update letter is you updating the admissions committee of the ways that you are a good fit for their program. And obviously use your own words. Don't try to copy and paste information directly from the college's website.
And the don'ts. Don't send updates to schools that don't take them. For example, Emory University School of Medicine. so make sure to check. Don't be casual. Again, this is a professional letter. Don't be vague or ambiguous. This is a time to be specific about what you've been doing additionally to help prepare you for your professional school. Don't use the school's own wording straight from their website. We're all familiar with plagiarism, right? And lastly, don't send the wrong school the wrong letter. So, now you know the do's and don'ts, so let's go over some general format of an update letter. To start off, you should have a quick intro, such as your name, school affiliation, and your application ID number. Then you start writing for your reason for writing, with any new updates you want to share and how that aligns you as a candidate and the program specifically. And now close that beautiful letter by discussing your continued reasons or your possible reiteration of your whys for why you want that program in the first place.
Here is an example of an average update letter. You can pause the video here to read through it, but I'll just go through a couple of the points that could be improved in this example. So the first thing is that the tone is arrogant and lacks self-awareness. There isn't very much trackable progress, and there's no connection to the school itself. When you read the chief scribe paragraph, does it sound like someone you'd want to work with? Even though he's in charge of training people and giving doctors important information, it also sounds self-important. In addition, cut down on personal endeavors or hobbies. It's great that he's running a marathon, and the bodybuilding and competition and sailing trip could actually stand out as unusual gap year activities, but they take up way too much space and there's exaggerated importance on things like the sailing adventure with friends. They'd have more power if they were simply kept to a line or two. Here are some ways an average letter like the first one could be improved. So first off, as we said, to whom it may concern is not a super strong opening. Even if you don't know exactly who will be reading it, putting something like Dear XYZ School of Medicine Admissions Committee looks and sounds a lot more personal. In the intro and conclusion, avoid any comments about the school's admissions timetable, such as, since several months have passed without any news from your admissions office, hope to hear from you soon, especially since I've heard that your school tends to send out its second wave of applications around this time. These sentences don't help your case at all. They convey that you're playing the admissions game rather than showing genuine attraction to the school. Remember to stay humble and polite. Say things such as how great of a fit you'd be for the incoming class, or that you can't wait to talk about it at an interview. So avoid overconfidence, but also groveling or self-deprecation. And then you obviously don't want to risk any tones of entitlement when you're talking about the school, and make the letter really personal to the school to show that you are a good fit. So the more specific, the better. Maybe you read about the school in the news, or you like some sample student research projects that you found on the website. It's nice if it can include some small personal note as part of the impetus behind the letter. And if you can personalize it right away, they're more likely to finish reading the letter. You also want to show your trackable progress. So most things in the letter example earlier were either continuations or plans. It's better if you can show an after picture of something you brought up in your application earlier. So an event you organized, a publication, a completed project, something to show your follow through and ability to leave things better than you found them. And finally, connect your gap year activities to the school's mission and opportunities. Right now, this example letter could be sent to all schools without making changes, which is a bad sign. You can use a template for each school, but you have to distinguish the school's program to show your fit. So here's an example of a better update letter. To recap, here are the qualities of strong update letters. First, they create a personalized narrative and cannot be used verbatim for another school. It shows your knowledge of the school right away from the first paragraph to draw the admissions officers in. It maintains a humble tone with no hints of entitlement or expectations. It shows trackable progress of accomplishments and improvement. And finally, the letter makes connections to the school's specific mission and opportunities.
Let's tackle examples of specific update items that schools may be interested in. These include honors and awards, publications and abstracts, new jobs and responsibilities, changes in classes, especially those that are required at a particular school, new grades, or negative developments. Once you have your items in mind, make sure to consider how they all have impacted you as an applicant. If you are worried about not having anything to add and still considering writing an update letter, remember that it's not a requirement and by no means does it have to be anything revolutionary. It can simply serve as a reminder to your schools of who you are and what unique experiences and values you can bring to your professional schools or the medical school. You could even spend the time to let them know how you've kept up with your extracurricular activities or your jobs. And lastly, one of your last concerns may be how much is too much writing, how much is too little, and how much is just right for an update letter. Our answer to you is it's context dependent. If you are unsure, make sure you consult with our pre-health advisors before sending an update letter to either review content, length, organization, or tone and style. Just make sure to be short and direct while providing the valuable information needed. And I know you're sad, but this is the end to our presentation on update letter. We want to thank you for listening to our presentation, and we all hope that this was very valuable information that can be helpful for your letter writing process. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to your advisor or send an email to prehealth@emory.edu. Thank you, and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.